So good morning, everyone. I hope you are all well. I can see many bright faces, at least this morning. It's a bright day in Malta, and I hope it's the same in your countries. Probably this is the longest EfVET conference we have ever organized, because we were already online in October. We will be online again later this month, and we are online today for the Virtual Workshops 2020. The workshops, as you all very well know, they are very popular in the EfVET conference structure. And this gives an opportunity for us all to interact with each other on very, very specific topics. And the effort that has been done by the conference team, Valentina, Life, the team in Brussels, and other people, has been enormous, because obviously distance is not always easy to overcome. But I would like to really start my very short presentation by thanking the conference team, Panayotis and others, for doing a wonderful job to bring us all together. This morning we are 114, as you can see, participants online following such important workshops. Why do we have workshops which are related to topics which are so relevant to vocational education and training? The topic we have chosen for this year, COVID-19 Beyond 2020, is a very challenging topic because it tries to explore the unknown. Over this year, we have been moving into the unknown from one situation to another. As practitioners, we have been facing situations which we never faced before. We couldn't rely on experience, we couldn't rely on best practice, and we couldn't rely on situations where we could have full control of what will happen on campus, how lecturing staff and how students would react, what efforts management should be doing, and where do we take this vocational education and training in such a situation. And therefore, when we talk about a new generation of vets, we are talking about this new generation which would possibly start next year, hopefully. And I hope it will be a new generation whereby the topics that we have chosen, 6 important topics that we have chosen, will achieve a new dimension of what is expected of vets and what is expected of the practitioners who undertake this enormous task to prepare young people and workers, people who are already in the labor market, to the challenges of possibly a very new workplace. The 6 workshops that we have today blend very well with, if you have read the Osnabrück Declaration of 2020, they blend very well with the deliverables, or short-term deliverables as the Commission calls them, for 21-25. I still recall when I was director at EfVET that there was a special effort from CEDEFOP at that time and from the European Commission to move away from so many deliverables at that time coming out from the Bruges communiqué to a more linear deliverables based on the Riga 5 deliverables which would facilitate the work of practitioners. Well, one comment which I would like to make to the Commission later this month during the Skills Week, and which I'm sharing with you today, and which I would like the workshops also to focus on, is why have we gone back to another 36 deliverables now, which is a cumbersome approach to vocational education and training. Luckily, however, the workshops that you will be focusing on today, when you match them with the deliverables that the Commission is expecting member states to accomplish, both in terms of the EU support and in terms of the national, the actions at national level, they blend very well. If we talk about VET 4.0, this is about a new way of working. This is about how technology and how artificial intelligence will impact on our lives. And I think this is it is one of the deliverables because the Osnabrück Declaration is precisely on transitions to digital and then the green economies. So you need to look into how these deliverables blend with the topics that we have chosen. 4.0 is one of them. Mobility is another. Blended mobility is a new term now. It's a new cliche, if I may say so. This is like saying future-proof. These are cliches that we come up with every now and then, so that we gain a new dimension of what we should be doing with our students, with our teachers, and with the rest. Blending of mobility is something which has been forced on us since March this year. Will this work? Is it the real approach to mobility? When we talk about mobility as a blended mobility, what exactly do we mean by this? What combinations are we trying to achieve? How will travel and how will moving from one country and another impact on the richness of a person's experience because of travel? I think it's an important subject, which I really thank the coordinators for bringing it up. And I am sure you will have a lot of discussion there for blended mobility. It is indeed a challenge for the future. Then we have the issue of practices in companies and in colleges, online. The practical dimension is what we have really suffered from during this COVID period. Now, to what extent is virtual reality, augmented reality helping us, or will it eventually help meet the challenge of practicing companies when we have situations where we cannot do otherwise? Let's hope we will not end up in such situations in the future, but you can never tell. To what extent can technology substitute the real life is something which I would be interested to listen to. To what extent can practice through technology substitute what the real hands-on experience is all about? Because I'm of an old school, I would say there's no comparison with hands-on. But you never know. Young people today have a different mindset. They have a different way of approaching reality. My son, who is 32 years of age, I rarely see any papers on his desk. He lives on his own, of course, with his wife, but it's a completely different culture. And yet they learn, and yet they progress, and then yet they can answer questions. They don't have papers. They rarely do things hands-on. They are always looking at screens, and yet they are intelligent enough to solve problems. So technology also has that added value. Another workshop is for Sustainable Development Goals, and my colleague Louis is one of the coordinators there. Again, the Osnabrück Declaration has a particular emphasis, even the deliverables themselves, on the green economy. So I'm looking forward to the debate in Sustainable Development Goals in Vocational Education and Training. Is it a culture for young people today? Maybe yes, maybe no. To what extent can we help them achieve such a culture for sustainability? Is, I think, the main issue that needs to be discussed here. Not to mention, of course, the link between what we do in vocational education and training and the Sustainable Development Goals that we have been talking about for some months, if not years. Then the post-COVID-19 period is another interesting workshop. Again, roadmaps and mobility here. What are roadmaps to normality here? What are these roadmaps to normality? If we get the vaccine early in 2021, will we go back to normality without taking into account the experience we have had since March this year? Or will we take into account the experience we have had since March 2020? To what extent will this impact our teaching, our modalities, our modes of learning? Will teachers prefer to do online rather than doing real lectures on campus? I don't know. But this could be a reality which we need to explore. Will they be more effective? Will we save on time? Will we save on money? I know companies today are looking into budgets which take into account less travel, less mobility, more online learning, more online meetings. Will this novelty be phased out or fizzled out during at times, because we are all human beings, we are social beings, and probably we were excited between March and June, but we won't be more excited in the future. I have no idea what will be in stock next year, but what roadmap to normality when COVID-19 is over is, I think, a very interesting topic. And finally, we have an online learning and teaching, the role of practitioners and capacity building. We are trying to instill what I call predictive capacity, the capacity to predict the future. Well, we are expected as managers to predict the future up to a certain extent, because no one was predicting COVID-19. No one predicted the fall of the Berlin Wall. There are many other things that happen to the world without any predictions whatsoever. I don't claim to be prophets, but if there is a prophecy, at least in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the prophets themselves made that prophecy happen. So here we are being challenged, because online learning and teaching, we have had the experience of it. What will be the role of practitioners? Will our roles change? Will the roles of lecturing staff and teachers change? Will the roles of students change? Will the role of the knowledge that we impart to young people change? How will it be perceived? And what links can we continue to establish with industry through technology, and yet having the same results? I think these are very exciting topics that we are presenting to our members today, and to those who are joining us. The number now has increased to 136 online, which is a very encouraging number for us. And therefore, I look forward to the deliberations. In particular, I will go back to my first few words. I think the Osnabrück Declaration of 2020, which will be discussed thoroughly during the VET Skills Week in a week's time, needs to be taken into account. Try to bring this into your discussions, because at the end of the day, we need to give feedback to the Commission, we need to give feedback to our line ministries and to our national authorities. We cannot keep this declaration in abeyance or in a vacuum. It has to be contextualized, and we need to give our contribution, and this is precisely what EfVET stands for. EfVET is an organization that looks into policy, it looks into the deliverables that need to be implemented, to the sustainability of these deliverables, and to the timeline that we expect both the Commission and the national authorities to implement such measures for the benefit of vocational education and training. Once more, I thank you all for participating or for engaging in these EfVET workshops, a continuation of our conference on COVID-19 beyond 2020. I wish you all well during these workshops. I look forward to the deliberations and to the recommendations that I will be looking into right after the workshops. So thank you all, and I'll give the floor to whom now? Panayotis?
I think so. I think so.
To yourself,
yeah.
eh? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. Here in EfVET, we used to say that we are a family. And today is Vibike's birthday, so I think it would be nice to wish her a happy birthday.
Yeah.
She has offered so much. Applause. And
okay.
I just take the floor to help with the technicalities here. In a few minutes, a pop-up window will open to each one of you on the screen of each one of you, proposing you to click the button to go to the breakout room. All of you have been divided in the workshops that you have chosen. As we said before, we're a family. No member will be left behind, so don't worry. If you don't manage it, we'll be here to help you and opening the door to enter the workshop breakout room you are. After we finish the first session, we're going to have, we can come back here for a hello. Then we will close this meeting. We are going to have a cup of coffee. And at 11, we're going to enter in the next link you have received and follow the same structure. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach us either here, either in the chat or whatever. We are here to help. So I believe that by now you all see the pop-up that is asking you to join. So please click there. See you in an hour and a half. Can you open your microphone? There you are. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So you know the procedure.
Yes, I will wait a little bit. No problem. Thank you very much.
As I see, the procedure has already begun, so people are going out to the breakout rooms. It will not take long, I hope. And we have a question if workshop number 5 is cancelled. Not sure it's cancelled.
Is here any persons who come to the workshop number 1?
The project has a different task. In this case, we have just one robot that will be assembled with different components that come from the different countries. So Danish students will provide mechanical components. Italian students will provide the coding, the informatic part, and Dutch student will provide the electronic materials. So this is a project a little bit more challenging because it requires.
But I think at the end of this month, we will have the results. And I thought that the EU Commission wants to use Selfie as a tool to improve digital teaching, and that's totally to get into the right direction, because we just had a look again on that Osnabrück declaration, where the EU responsibility person, they just said that they want to push ahead with digitalization. So
the capacity of keeping attention, of interaction. So for sure, the online and the virtual activities will continue, but in my opinion, will be the same as the university, that all the schools will offer some course online and the rest of the activities in presence.
So you're looking at as we call a blended approach in respect to, I think one aspect, and we'll ask the other people what they think as well, is that you're not, what we're saying is we're not going back to what it was prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is we're going to the new, what we
Yeah.
call the new norm, the new education, and in respect to the blended approach.
Yeah.
So we're allowing for, because what we've got at the moment is we have to think about, you know, as we're saying, that physical connection is important. We know that. Social inclusion, communication, etc., etc.
We will focus on it.
Okay, so you did get national policies from that.
There are,
to start the process.
yes, they started to do this, they published, but we have to wait to organize it to come in reality.
Okay. Any other
Yeah.
contributions?
I'll be adding something in regarding Finland. What I believe in is that we should be adding the awareness of the problem of sustainability. And for instance, we teach business administration. And for these students, corporate social responsibility will be a great add into their curriculum. So kind of knowing how to implement sustainability into marketing planning.
Yes, perfect.
Hi.
Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, hola. In Spain, I think that we have a deep problem, not only in this area, it's in the educational area, because we don't have the same law for a lot of years. So now the government is thinking about change again the educational law. So the teachers don't know how they can
changing the role of teachers, but also the skills of teachers. So this is the reason why she mentioned also capacity building. And of course, there is a third point connected with the environment, not just the school environment. We need our teachers to feel safe, to have all the technologies and tools they need, but also in terms of ecosystem. We have to think about not just schools, but ecosystem, where Katarina was mentioning since the beginning, parents, companies, but also institutions. So to some extent, maybe Lisa, can you go to the previous slide, please? Yeah, thank you very much. So actually we have more or less 30, 40 minutes to discuss about these key issues. As our president said in the introduction, we are going to be prophets and share our prophecies. So please don't be shy and feel free to share your thoughts. And eventually the main idea is to collect these ideas, to collect these good practices that you are going to share in order to make these prophecies happen. This is the main aim of this workshop, and this is the mission of EfVET, to make a change in our vet system. So you have here the three questions, the three issues.
Oh, but I would like also to look on the workshop 4.
Okay, I'm going to.
Antonio Carlos.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear? Hello, can you hear me? Nice
Yeah,
and clear.
absolutely. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. I was on room 2, okay, and I would like to go to the 1. Can I
move?
Can you put me there? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Vale.
Okay. Nice background you have.
If you open the chat now, Antonio,
okay,
you are going to see some practical information, because when you go to number 1, they are split into the teams meetings, different teams.
Okay, okay.
Cool. Okay. And Valentina will send you to number 1 as soon as possible. Okay, dear.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're now alone. Everyone's left us.
Fantastic.
But
Bravo. Congratulations, Vale. You have done a fantastic job,
no,
really.
thank you. No, you know, it's
We're going to have a lot of bottles of Prosecco when we meet, believe me.
yes, if you could see, you know, how I'm sitting, you know, in
I can imagine.
You know, with the all stuff here. You know, it's a really nightmare.
But even with the COVID, you look gorgeous. Bravo.
You know how many makeup this morning I put?
Really? I will need some. Look at my eyes. Look at my
me.
eyes.
Yes.
Fuck.
Where I'm sitting. You see? It's like a poor lady don't have any more.
Yes. But tell me, do you think that Tassos has sent you the wrong lists?
No, he's no. It's no. You know what's happened? It's not him, because you know when you're in the Zoom, you save everything.
Yes.
I think you know when you're up maybe more than 30 or 20. You know the workshops number 2 was very high.
And I read that if we have 50 participants, it's a problem.
Yes.
That was.
That is because yesterday when I saved and it wasn't safe, so it's again. So until 1 o'clock, I went again to all, you know.
Yes.
And then I think it's a Zoom not recognize all this kind of accepting, you know, more than 100 people on the workshops. Okay, so if you see others quickly went there, but then you know suddenly others you know being stuck.
I need to go to John. He's calling me. I don't know why.
Maria-Jo sent a message.
Don't care. Sorry. I'm going to John and I come back in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that for all branches, or which branches do you focus on?
Yes, the first step is non-sector specific.
Okay.
Maybe focused a bit more on technical in this pilot, but we'll see.
And does the Cultus Ministry somehow cooperate with you?
Sorry?
Easier and more motivating for them and for the students. So we want to connect our Finnish teacher to a foreign teacher so that they could do co-teaching together. And we are giving a ready-made plan for them that you can just jump along and go through it, but it's flexible enough that they could change it on how they feel it could be the best. Yeah, that we need to go to the lessons, then the virtual mobility or the virtual blended learning, the cooperation has to be part of the student studies. Yeah, so we made this simple plan, and an important thing is that we need to, as an international office, we need to think about the technical parts through and give a suggestion that you could use, for example, this device, and this is how it works, so that the teachers wouldn't.
Before that we say we are stuck in the middle, and it's really not easy to point out certain aspects, but perhaps we should come back to the idea what will help during and after the pandemic to change our role and to change our attitude for teaching. And I mean, we had some aspects talking about the development of teachers, because there as well is a risk of dropping out. We need a roadmap to a new normal VET. So we have been discussing what is the new normal after, and where will it go? Will we just go back to normal after the pandemic situation has passed? For example, we go back to our teaching we had before. How can we enable the way? What can we do to come to a new level? I think this is what James told us. What is the new approach to VET? What will be the new VET workplace like after the pandemic? Can we see that already, or are we all stuck in the daily problems so much? Perhaps that's the point. I really would be happy to hear more of your comments and of your experiences. That would be great for us, because we have the task to give advice more or less and to sum up.
I think shared helps us overcome this obstacle, if I were to call it an obstacle. So how do you see that? So projects can help definitely for working transnationally. Do you see other platforms? There is EfVET, so definitely networking. What about other things? I can see Victoria, Caroline, Marianne, anyone.
Can I add something, Luis? I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom, so
No, this is typically Maltese Southern Europe type of meeting. So I can speak up.
Okay.
We don't have time for raised hands.
Okay, well, I was thinking, I mean, to work together transnationally, I think that each part of Europe has a strength in a certain area of development, sustainable development. For example, the Northern European countries are very good at using wind energy, and they build very sustainable, because, for example, in construction, they use natural resources in construction much more than Southern Europe. And of course, in Southern Europe, I think they have much more expertise in using solar energy, solar power. So I think that there are many parts of Europe that have a different strength and a different quality that they can bring to the table and share with other parts of Europe. And then, I think that they can share their sustainable solutions with each other.
My point of view, obviously. Sorry.
Excellent. Karen, please.
Well, I think I'm not a teacher myself, but looking at the teaching environment that I know from our school, then it's very much also hands-on training, and we have like workshops with where they do a lot of things physically, because many of the students in the vocational area
improves the reputation. We saw it. It's also about the competitiveness. Global CV. So these skills can be exactly like a geographical mobility. This can be part of a CV. That's a very interesting point. It's flexible to include more students. That's good. Attractive and better preparation for European citizens. That has a lot to do with the global skills that Andre mentioned in his presentation. The blended mobility offers internationalization to both students at home and to ones who travel. This is also a point. It doesn't make a difference between those who travel and those who does not.
Why? That's the main point of doing a mobility, to adapt to new realities, even if they are the COVID realities, but it's another reality. So they have to adapt. They work normally, almost normally, and they still get all the skills about the labor or international skills, and also language skills.
Okay,
So
and
on the first workshop, we had Kari, Vibeke as moderators and Karina as a rapporteur. It would be a good idea to have the rapporteur take the floor for 3 or 4 minutes, the maximum, in order to give us a small, let's say, recap of what took place there. On the second workshop, we had the moderators, the two Andre and Andrea, and Justina was the rapporteur. She will take the floor as well just after Karinia. Then we had Gabi and Paulius as moderator in workshop 3, where Nacho will take the floor. On number 4, we had Luis and Yorgos will take the floor as well. Then on workshop number 4, Education and Training Roadmap to Normality, we had Paul and John. Tibor will give us a small synopsis of what took place there. And then out of workshop 6, where Caterina and Paolo were the moderators, Lisa will tell us a few things. I believe that it's already 28 minutes past 12, so maybe Karinia, would you like to start a bit if you have a presentation, or if you would like to unmute yourself and give us a small recap of what took place there?
Just a moment, I'm going to close all rooms and people coming back. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm close all rooms.
Due to some technical difficulties, as you all saw, we had some minutes less. So in order to be as fair as possible, I believe we will all be a bit patient and give them a couple of seconds to finalize the workshops and come back to us. Hope nobody will kill us for that, you know. These technical things is always taking place when you don't want them.
24 seconds.
The best part is that I see happy faces, and this is fantastic.
I'm sending you a malware. Prepared.
Bloody hell. You can never trust the Italians, Paolo. So, I see that people are coming back, and it would be nice if Karinia is ready. We could start there. Okay, Karinia, the floor is yours, dear.
Okay. I'm not sure why are you driving a spaceship, but you can tell us at the end. So I will share some thoughts about the workshop number 1. We have much more questions than answers. Still, we approach some themes like circular economy, globalization, sharing economy, climate migration, all these global issues. But do schools feel they are teaching and integrating sustainability, these items on their curriculum? It was common that we need more information, more coordination, and teach and inform about this. We also focus on the sustainability theme, not just for garbage as known, but leadership, ways of doing things, and teaching. Also, in schools, materials are being produced to teach these things, but how is the influence of all this new technology in our children? Do they stay critical? Do they stay with values at the same times, or do we incorporate these issues also in our curriculums? This is questions for us to think ahead. Also, schools are integrating technology within classes, but it's not how to use technology, what we want to achieve with it. We need to raise some more awareness of what we want with technology. We talked about new technology in teaching, how to make organizations resilient with this industry 4.0 programs 4.0. What are our organizations doing now in these days? Methods are much more important than numbers in this kind of thinking. We shared experience about incorporating technology in our process, in our schools. We did some Mentimeters also in our subgroups about how are the needs to integrate these technologies, about funding, personnel, knowledge. These are long process that needs long time to be applied. How to build all this, what we want to achieve with all this. Because transformation must be quickly, but structural changes need some time, and time needs also a change of mindsets. New ways of learning and new teaching activities needs also a big dose of creativity. So for all of this, we need time to change quickly. This is the main aspects for me. I was kind of lost in all these subgroups and subrooms, but I think I catch most of the spirit and the topics we talked about.
I think you already gave us a great overview of what took place there. Of course, it was very difficult to keep all the things that
That's why I need a spaceship also.
I will tell you that another great aspect of our everyday life, mobility, was really affected by this COVID situation we're facing, and that was workshop number 2 about. Happy faces out of there as well, and I would like Justina, if I spell it correctly, to give us a small synopsis of what took place there, please. The floor is yours.
Yes, so thank you. And I will also dive in with your spaceship. So what we did in our groups, we were talking about blended mobility. So first of all, we were reviewing what does it mean? What is exactly is the blended mobility? And we were reviewing that it is, of course, the combination of online and physical activities, that it could be accomplished with a hybrid learning, with a different kind of involving studies, courses, work placement, making research. But we also should focus how students can train their skills and become workers of the future. That blended mobility gives that a lot of opportunities. It's collaboration with different level of students, providing more opportunities for those who have limits, and learning process can be more attractive and interesting. Throughout the session, we have identified what brings the added value. As it was mentioned, inclusion, opportunity for all, increased motivation of students, and increased digital and soft skills development, and of course, international experience of the students. In addition, we also identified the added value for the organizations. So it is part of the sustainable way to be international and competitive, and increase the attractiveness of the VET education, and improve the quality of the curriculum. And of course, improve the skills and competences of the students and teachers, which is the future. So what is the current situation? We reviewed throughout the roadmap creation session with the Mentimeter, and it showed that many of the participants are positive about the idea itself about the blended mobility. And because it brings many benefits in the challenging times, how it was stressed by participants and speakers. And more than half of participants confirmed that blended mobility fits in their organization strategy and have already started considering it. It will be part of the internalization at home. But when it comes to the actual practice, majority of the participants, they have not, they don't have it. So it is on the way. And so how can we do it? There have been presented different good practices from Italy with Key Action 2 projects, working on the robotics, also from Finland on initiative in working with English teachers and students with collaboration with other institutions and making those first steps. But we also identified the key actors on making it work, and what the presenters and speakers and the participants have identified. The key element is the students and teachers, and still the focus is the other teachers who are the key actors in the blended mobility. And presented good practice confirms that. So we should really focus on supporting teachers, them, by taking away some tasks, for example, technical part, by international coordinators, managers, so that they can be focused on that element, and as they are overloaded anyways, and can involve in it. Considering global, so what we identified the challenges and participants identified is lack of time, funding opportunities and investment in your staff to support this initiative, finding partners with similar thinking, user-friendly approaches, and recognition of activities or inclusion in curriculum and other. But there were also expressed some tricks or tips how to do it. So first of all, start from the teachers, look for inspiration, like-minded partners, make it normal in education, keep it simple, make small steps. And as it was also mentioned in our sessions, it was remembered last conference motto, surprise, fear, and embrace. So maybe we are surprised, we have fear, but we should embrace this challenge as it is part of lifelong learning, because blended mobility is the future.
Which is so true, which is so true. Just to remind everyone that all these small synopses are going to be uploaded in our website, and let these workshops become the beginning of a good discussion for the next days, weeks, months. I will say that in workshop number 3, Gabi from Germany and Paulius from Lithuania discussed very, very interesting topic regarding the practice in companies, the training in college, and of course online learning. And I will ask Nacho from Spain to give us a small synopsis there. Nacho?
Yes, hello Panagiotis, thank you, and hello everyone. I'm gonna share my screen because we even prepared kind of a quick presentation, and we didn't have too much time, but well, we had an interesting first round with about 10 participants, and we proposed several items, several topics to discuss, and these are the three main, the three more voted topics with the current situation we are all facing. Developing digital structures which are likely to enable all students to get ahead, cooperating with EfVET partners and companies, and organizing, creating and motivating learning atmosphere while digital tools. The main challenges or difficulties we're facing is at this, get students into digital, and mainly those with fewer opportunities. It was also mentioned the day-to-day at school that it makes it very difficult to develop digital learning context in the sense that we are all being asked to do everything digital, but at the same time coming to school because it's still mandatory. So there is a lot of lack of time and flexibility and resources to make this possible. We had also a couple of examples of lack of interest when cooperating with companies because it's depending on the sectors and countries, but it's very difficult to get them involved in the virtual or blended internships. Also to stress the challenge of course, students' digital competences, but specifically about the teachers' ones. We all face this, and also depending on the age of the teachers, but most of us did not fit with the needs. And also very important, the lack of clear direction from governments about future learning, in the sense that we forget about everything we have done in this year, so we will come back to the old ways of education. Trying to rethink about this and come up with possible solutions, we stress the importance of individualization of the learning process, which is in different levels depending on the countries. It's important to grant access to digital devices and connections. Here we had good examples of cooperation with companies that between companies and schools in order to supply devices to students, to stress the importance of teachers training in terms of digital competences, but not only digital competences, but also professional ones, in the sense that depending on the sector, but we have to adapt pedagogy to the digital environment. The adaptation of the learning process to digital context that is still possible even for mobility actions. To use the imagination, like we had a couple of good experiences with a selfie tool that you all know, and also cooperation with companies can lead to good solutions. And according to what Justina just said in the workshop number 2, find out solutions for making blended learning with also in mobility possible. This is not still very well developed, but we all think that the future will be counting with blended solutions. Then for the round 2, we spoke more generally about the situation, and we tried to stress to focus on the new era, on the new situation we will have after COVID, and not only the situation we are currently living. But we started with one example that was very clear, no? This is to imagine the future of the vet education after COVID. It's a bit like if you ask someone, how will your new house look when yours is still on fire? So it's very difficult to foresee the future. But well, the key messages were to learn how to manage stress because of this, because we are trying to think in a future when we can't even finish the day with things done. We demand a more clear direction from governments because we have too many contradictions. Sorry. Because we are being pushed to use digital tools, but on the other side we have examples that this is not allowed by other governments. So we need flexibility on this. It would be important to establish also a system based on a culture of trust, because it's very different depending on the regions and the countries. But we can, from some educational systems, very based on mistrust, and we should go to trust on schools and trust on teachers to organize their day-to-day life. And again, train the trainers is so important. We even heard a case of a situation that we're living about teachers dropping out of schools, so not students but teachers, because they are under huge stress. And also we imagine the future with much more blended education and lifelong learning, but at the same time with a tendency to come back the old way. The pandemic will be gone, and we will go back to our normality as soon as possible. But it's important to promote blended education and lifelong learning, also because there will be new opportunities and retraining needs based on not only on COVID, but also with the huge and next economic crisis that we will face in the next years. And again, imagination, we had examples of bringing companies to school that was very inspiring. It was mentioned again, selfie for different purposes, and even digital methodological groups. So we came up with a final conclusion that it was mentioned in the declaration of Osnabrück about push ahead with digitalization. But what does this mean? And we need more clear information from governments. Thank you.
Fantastic, Nacho. Thank you very much. Really useful the fact that we have this PowerPoint, and I would ask all the rapporteurs and the moderators to send to the office all their PowerPoints so as to share them with our participants here, and not only the ones that were present, but also the ones that were not able to participate. On the next workshop in Sustainable Development Goals in Vocational Education and Training, Luis from Malta and Yorgos from Cyprus were playing the game there. So I would now ask Yorgos from Cyprus to give us a small hint of what took place there.
Thank you, Panagiotis. I'm going to share my screen as well with you. Do you hear me? Okay, thank you. I'm going to share some notes we took over during the workshop. As Panagiotis mentioned, our workshop had to do with the Sustainable Development Goals in VET sector. In total, we had 35 participants in both sessions. And firstly, I would like to thank all the participants for their active involvement and input. Our workshop was based mainly on two key points that we wanted to raise with the participants: supporting sustainability and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals through the promotion of green skills within the VET sector, and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on all the aspects of our way of living. In order to facilitate the discussion, we broke down these points into the questions which you see. Questions such as how is education and training system going to facilitate the transition towards a blue and green economy, and which skills are needed nowadays? Which are the new dilemmas and paradoxes which we are facing with the results of COVID? How do we work together transnationally, all the VET institutions in Europe, to find sustainable solutions within? And how do we facilitate collaboration between civil society organizations, companies, industries, as well as the public education colleges. We approach these questions in two different scopes, the general framework of these questions, as well as more specifically in the scope of the COVID pandemic. As I mentioned before, we gathered a lot of interesting feedback from the participants. First and foremost, we all agreed that we need to develop sustainable thinking, all of us, in order to achieve these solutions. The participants shared among them their good practices at national as well as at EU level regarding the issues of the blue and green economy, where it was very interesting to observe that we have different levels of involvement according to the type of each stakeholder and different experiences and knowledges on the subject, something which makes even more mandatory nowadays to ensure the proper exchange and continuously exchange of experience and good practices among EU members. It's also necessary to upskill the EfVET institutions and their educators. All EfVET institutions should significantly invest and focus on the online trainings. We all see the necessity nowadays with the elimination and the non-applicability of the physical presence during the meetings and the workshops. The majority of the institutions are already experienced on this subject, but of course we should all try to investigate and seek further into new online solutions and interactive tools and methods in order to stimulate the EfVET training in Europe. And of course, joint projects and mobilities are very important to continue nowadays in all European context, so as for all of us to be able to exchange the good practices and to develop further innovation and results towards this direction. All this cannot happen unless EU at central level as well as the national governments will provide the proper significance, the proper motives and regulations in order to stimulate this knowledge and interest among EfVET providers. Thank you very much.
Impressive, impressive really. And I will add to some comments of our participants, Rosa, Lisa, Mary. So many challenges, common or different, so many questions. And I will keep what you said, Yorgos, that sustainable thinking is the one that will lead us to the current main question of what is the roadmap for the post-COVID era? And that was workshop number 5, post-COVID-19 Education and Training Roadmap to Normality, with Paul from Ireland and John from the UK. And I will invite Tibor to tell us, is there any answer on that?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of discussion about that. We have not a very clear answer, of course, and I just recognize that all the other workshops, the other 4 workshops, is dealing with the same topic in the different title. When we, and there are a lot of valuable recommendations of the other 4 ones that I will highlight it in my presentation. When we set up the title of this workshop, we were very positive minded that the COVID will be disappeared or just will be very small in October and November this year. But we have to recognize that we are just in the translation, and what we spoke about and stated that we don't have new normality, and we are not able to set up what does it mean, the new norms and new normality. We recognize that in this transition, all the sectors of the economy, not just the education struggle, we define the flexible, feasible, and acceptable solution for the current problems and try to develop the feasible solution for the post-COVID situation in the workplace, in the education, in the society, hospitality, and the other sectors of it. This is the reason why we just have the direction, what we have to think about when we find a solution of the post-COVID situation in the education. And the one very strong statement was what we did, that it's no way to go back to the old norms and the old teaching ways, or we have to develop new ones. But after the first lockdown of Europe, we just recognize in the education sectors that till March we had a very nice conversation, speaking and conferences about the digitalization of the education. And now we had to do something, and we recognized that there are a lot of lack in the education, lack of the learning skills of the learners, a lot of the teaching skills of the teachers, a lot of the quality digital content, a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the support system for all of them. And sometimes a lot of the strategy of the institutional strategy, digital strategy of the schools. So when we spoke about the quality, because we focus on the quality, not just the what is the normality and what is the features and characteristics of the normality. When we spoke about the quality, we agreed that the quality doesn't mean just the quality of the infrastructure but the other things, what Nacho said in the selfie, that while the quality means the infrastructure, institutional strategy, the supporting system in the school, support the students, support the teachers, the quality of the digital content, the quality of the learning environment and teaching environment, which is not just the ICT, but the other things. The quality of the COPE, the knowledge sharing and the best practice sharing, and the quality of the communication and the way of thinking, how we can teach the teacher, the students, and how the students has to learn. We spoke about the other aspects of the better education, that the blended learning is not fit for everyone. As one of the presenters said, that we have to individualize the education for the students' point of view, and we have to use the technology for the individualization of the education, the mass education. We agreed that we have to focus, we have to deal with not just the digital quality, digital content, but we have to think about the different type of the dual education and dual system, and we agreed that the education, the better education, has to fit for the different level of the company involvement in the education, and the companies has to find a way how the students can be involved in the US system in the future after the post-COVID. We spoke about, of course, the blended mobility and the virtual mobility, but we have a full workshop and don't want to repeat the outcomes of this workshop. And
really interesting, really interesting.
And that's it, I guess.
Thank you very much, Tibor. Sorry, we just need to remind people that we need to close with the last workshop. Tibor mentioned the communication way of thinking, the lack of skills, and this lack of skills on digital tools was something that might have been discussed in the last workshop. With Katarina and Paolo, and I will ask Lisa to give us a very, very short synopsis of what took place there. Oh my God, I see 18 slides. Lisa, James will kill me. Okay, okay.
Okay,
I
thank
leave
you.
everything to my daughter if you don't see me again. Please, Lisa.
Okay, thank you. When I was listening to Tibor, I thought that we were in the same workshop, but I checked because we haven't been in the same workshop. We have been discussing about exactly the same things, but I will go through quickly the things we talked about. So the main thing there was, of course, that there is the need to change, and we need the new mindset for VET colleges, also on strategy level, which also Tibor referred to, and the management and the teacher, all the levels there, and there is no way back to the normal. This is the new normal. And what was discussed a lot, we talked about the learner activation and engagement, and not forgetting about the social and emotional issues that we usually get when we are in the face-to-face interaction. So the social interaction is a key in VET in order to manage or to give the students the skills to manage in the working life. And we need these individual solutions, which means, of course, flexible curriculum and the ways to adapt teaching to available learning environments and tools, whether it's online or face-to-face, it doesn't matter because it needs to be individualized. The teacher skills and competencies must be developed in a versatile way, not forgetting the teacher education that gives us the teachers in the future as well. So it mustn't be left behind in this development. We need sort of development in methods and tools and of course the ability to change. And the teachers' active role to manage their own capacity building is absolutely essential in this respect. Also, we talked about the accessibility, the students in the margin. Do they have the equipment and tools to attend teaching in a full-fledged way? And also the VET schools must be equipped with equipment and tools for teachers. So we can't say that you have to teach online, you have to be digitalized if the schools are not giving the tools for teachers or the competence and skills as well. We need to have sort of mentoring and tutoring programs, both for teachers and students. Katarina told a very good example from Portugal. They can appoint so-called CHO, Chief Happiness Officer, among the students. And that can sort of support all the other students, which we thought was a great idea. And also we need to sort of have these communities of practitioners within the schools, but also in the wider respect, also on national level and also on the EU level. We need sort of different learning ecosystems to include not only the colleges, teachers and students, but also companies and parents, which also I thought the other groups talked about. And finally, that not to forget what we have learned during this COVID period and taking all the good practices into use also after this COVID and develop them further, and this is the new normal. There is no way we can go back after this. But that's basically the key issues. We had lots of other topics as well, or went deeper into this, but this is sort of like a compilation of all these two sessions. So
Pretty sure. Thank you, Lisa. That was very great. We Greeks are not famous for being rich, but today, at least up here, I feel richer. And in this, I will ask our president, James Kaleya, to give us his idea of these workshops. James, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Panayotis. Thank you, Karina, Justina, Nacho, Yorgos, Tibor, and Lisa for putting all these ideas together. I feel enriched with what has been shared in the different workshops. Some key messages which I will take with me and which I think are important in the context of what has been, what we have been discussing so far would be the following, very briefly. Time, I think, is an important factor. I think it was in the first workshop that this has been raised, particularly living in an era where we claim to be in a VET 4.0 or Industry 4.0. What are the values that young people will be taking from us as adults? Will they remain critical is what has been asked, and what sort of leadership skills will these young people have? I think that is a key message which I gathered from workshop number 1, which I feel is important for us to take forward in the context of being practitioners, particularly the leadership skills that young people need in a context which is so unpredictable. And we have experienced this since March this year. So unpredictability and the time factor, and here when we talk about time, there is no such thing as a time which we can actually define, because time is now. There is no such thing as time in the future and time in the past. So we can only act now is what I think came out from the first workshop, which is a very important message. When I was listening to Justina, I could gather that the role of teachers is extremely important. And we have experienced this even ourselves here at the college, but even in other colleges and other principals that I normally contact. Teachers like us have not been prepared for this. They have managed very well. Some have managed less well than we were expecting, but I think the retraining of teachers in the context of a post-COVID period is extremely important. And whoever is training teachers today, whether they are faculties in universities or other institutions, need to rethink how the combination of learning could work and how we can guarantee online quality education. I think this is important. At our college here, we will soon be launching an online quality assurance policy, because no matter how brilliant you are in delivering your speeches and your lectures, what is being received is much, much more important than what is being delivered. And this is what I gathered from Justina's presentation. With Nacho, practicing companies, here I think what really struck me was that if we knock on government's doors, we are not getting any particular feedback here on how we can manage the future. The lack of future direction from governments is something which I think we as EfVET need to think more about, even in the context of what the Commission is sharing with us in the form of declaration. But also the fact that all of this is putting enormous stress on the systems, on people. This cannot be disregarded. So he claims that there's a house on fire, but at the end of the day, we need to push ahead with digitalization. Why? Because there is no other solution that is handy enough and acceptable enough to reconnect what has been disconnected. Then when it came to sustainable development, and I think Panayotis was already referring to it when he was making a very, very short summary about it, is developing sustainable thinking is what struck me most. So this is about a culture change here. This is about mindsets. How we can develop that? Well, there were some very good ideas about sharing good practice, about the blue-green economy. But most importantly, I took as a message that communication is and must be effective. It's not just communicating ideas or good practice, but is communication reaching the recipients in an effective way is what something which I think I should underline even for the college that I lead. Then Thibault made it clear that there is no way going back, and I cannot agree more. We have never gone back when it comes to human development. I think we have only moved forward, but lessons can be learned from the past, so that mistakes will not be done in the future. I think this is the post-COVID philosophy that we have learned from the spirit. But Tibor also underlined very clearly that the quality of work and the quality of learning is extremely important. So no matter what this post-COVID period will be all about, which we don't know, we need to push for quality in whatever we do. And I think this workshop sessions and the conference that we have had so far, they have been a good example of quality assurance and quality work of all who have been involved. Last but not least, I think Lisa has outlined very, very significant points, two of which I would like to emphasize. One is, and I have just been talking about it with my directors here, engagement, she said. How important engagement is. We do realize from the feedback we get from students that a good percentage of these students are and will become disengaged as time goes by. I think that we need to think even further and deeply into what engagement is all about. How can we keep the young people's mind engaged by looking at a screen? How often do young people need to come back to the college and reconnect with friends and with lecturers and with the structures that we provide? We cannot ignore social and emotional issues at all, because at the end of the day, these will come back to haunt us, and disengagement is exactly what we don't need in our learning environments. And finally, I think accessibility. I don't know your experience in detail in different countries. Accessibility has different forms and practices. We do have issues even in my college where young people ask for, especially those in the margins of society, that online learning is not something which they can cope with because they have no connectivity, they might not have IT equipment and hardware. So we cannot ignore people in the margins of society. And I think the idea of a chief happiness officer, which Lisa mentioned, is also an interesting perspective here, which I embrace. As much as I do all the ideas that have been shared through technology today. I think it has been the enormous work that Panayotis, Valentina, Life, and our team in Brussels have done, together with the chairs and the coordinators and the rapporteurs. This is a huge amount of work. I know it's talking to a screen and not talking to persons face to face, which for me makes a huge amount of difference, but these are the circumstances that we're living today. We need to defeat this enemy, this invisible enemy. But I think with all the efforts that we have done, with the networking, and I agree, network works, but so does teamwork. I strongly believe in teamwork. Teamwork really works, and these workshops have been evidence that teamwork within EfVET really makes things work. So thank you all for your participation. And I hope Valentina will recover as quickly as possible. But even a 50% Valentina is still a strong Valentina. So a good applause to Valentina and the team
And
for
also
doing
Panayotis.
excellent job.
And thank you so much,
And
Panayotis.
Panayotis with those rays behind him.
And life with
He's in
the
a spaceship.
Yes, even he had a fever. Now I would kindly ask you, open your camera. We will take family pictures for record.
We need that. We need that.
Smiling,
But as
handsome,
a family, even like this, it's nice to see all of you.
family. We are together.
Yes. And now raise your hands and say, great, we love EfVET, don't we?
Yes, yes, doing, because I have a lot to take screenshots. And Victoria, maybe you can help me if she's thirsty.
Yes, we have 4 pages, eh?
And then
now we don't count the participants, we count the pages of Zoom.
open your hands. Yes.
Again.
And thank you so very much. We are so happy, really so happy. And don't forget, on the 19th, we do have our roundtables. Please join. It's just you need to click and join. And also marketplace. For the marketplace, I leave the floor to Panayotis. How can you sign up? Because we already received many requests.
It would be nice if you could visit virtual.efvetconference.eu, and there on the specific page of marketplace, just go there, sign in, and play the game. Fill in the form, and it will take place. We are going to send you some email.